Hello Internet, I'm Dokibo, and today we're analyzing the first season of the Elusive Samurai, the long-awaited prequel to The Last Samurai, starring Texas Senator Tom Raphael Cruz. The series begins in 1333, right before the end of the Kamakura period. This is marked by the dissolution of the Kamakura shogunate and the restoration of the imperial court. This was a time period of immense violence and political turmoil, a period that I have been told would have sucked to live in. Not because of the violence and political instability, but because there's no internet, or toilet paper for that matter. We are introduced to our protagonist, Tokayuki Hojo, son of the shogun and successor of the Kamakura shogunate. As we can see, Tokayuki is a carefree young boy whose small and agile build works excellent in his daily fling of responsibilities, aka being an unemployed child. For shame. We are then introduced to the legendary warrior and general Takeuji Ashikaga, who is shown to have a big brother-like relationship with Tokayuki and a man who just exudes that big dick energy. Takeuchi informs Tokayuki that he is off to Kyoto to quell the emperor's rebellion against the Hojo clan. Pinky promise, really, no backstabby. We then see Tokayuki's father, Shogun Taketoki, who is just vibing on Quaaludes with his roommates. It's here that we learn that Tokayuki's fate will be that of like his father, a puppet to all these basic bitches around him. Content with his drug-riddled fate, Tokayuki spends his day leisurely doing parkour around the palace, and hanging out with his older and more responsible half-brother, Kunitoki Hojo. After once again running away from responsibilities, Tokayuki takes a well-deserved, relaxing break in the trees overlooking the town of Kamakura. Appearing before Tokayuki like a mirage is a young shrine maiden named Shizuku. She explains that her father sees great potential within Tokayuki, and that he is like a diamond in the rough, aka a useless lump of coal. And it's here we are introduced to Mr. Stranger Danger himself, Yorishige Suwa, a Shinto priest from Shinano. Shizuku informs Tokayuki that her aforementioned father possesses the power of foresight, and prophesizes that Tokayuki will one day become a great hero and leader, changing the course of Japanese history.
10歳の時にあなた様は天を揺るがす英雄となられます。
A prophecy also known as bringing balance to the force. We then catch up with Takeuchi and the Kamakura army. It is here we discover Takeuchi's betrayal of the shogunate and his defection to the imperial forces. Never trust the man who betrays the Triforce. Now leading the imperial army, Takeuchi cuts through the shogun's forces all the way to the city of Kamakura, leaving only carnage in his wake. We then see Takeuchi shooting a cover for his 80s hair metal band. Now with the shogun OD'd and Kamakura ablaze, Yorishige and Shizuku kidnap Tokayuki to safety. Tokayuki, being the drama queen that he is, contemplates taking his own life for some reason and dying a warrior's death.
死なせてください、私のことも。皆のように武士らしく。
そうですか。では死になされ。
Damn, Yorishige, that's cold! After being thrown to the proverbial wolves, Tokayuki gains the conviction to keep on living and uses his agility and elusiveness to escape the maws of death, thus being reborn as a fledgling hero. Yorishige, being the enabler he is, explains that Tokayuki thrives on the rush of coming inches to death, and it is because of his evasive skills that he will one day become a hero of the same caliber as Takeuchi. Yorishige, don't encourage his cowardice. After successfully outrunning death, Tokayuki vows to one day become a hero and avenge the fallen Hojo clan. Now trapped in his surrounded Kamakura, Yorishige, Shizuku, and Tokayuki hide out in an abandoned house. Tokayuki, now the dethroned prince, dons a Shinto priest garb to disguise himself, not at all realizing that he has the same face and hairstyle. After having enough of Yorishige's shenanigans and unwanted advances, Tokayuki returns to the city to see the damage for himself. It is here where we learn of his uncle Muneshige's betrayal and execution of his brother Kunitoki. Now filled with the desire to avenge his fallen brother, Tokiyuki follows the guidance of the groomer Yorishige. We then meet two more children that Yorishige abducted, something that we're just never gonna address. These newly appointed servants of Tokiyuki are Kojiro Nezu, a young boy who's excellent in combat with swords, and Ayako Mochizuki, a muscle-headed brute who fights with her brawn and with a naginata. The newly formed Spy Kids trio devise a plan to lure Muneshige out into the woods using Tokiyuki as bait. After failing to assassinate Muneshige in their initial attack, the three are forced into combat. During the fight, Muneshige is compelled for some reason to reveal that he is not only abnormally strong, but he also has quite a gambling habit. You and me, right, brother? It is here in this fight that Tokiyuki develops his signature fighting style of evasion. In other words, being a coward for justice.
時行様は臆病なのではない。純粋に逃げるのが大好きなのだ。
Sure, buddy, whatever you say. Despite Tokiyuki's extreme dexterity and speed, he's unable to attack with any real effectiveness. Thus, the teamwork with Tokiyuki, Kojiro, and Ayako is paramount to their success. Now, after relieving Muneshige of a few pounds off his shoulders, Tokiyuki learns that the most important trait of being a leader is to inspire confidence in his loyal retainers, as they will be the blade to fell the enemies of the Hojo clan, the sword to his proverbial cloud silhouette. After leaving Kamakura, Tokiyuki and party flee to Suwa under protection of Yoroshige's temple. Whilst at Suwa Temple, Tokiyuki continues his training as leader and warrior under the tutelage of Yoroshige. After seeing Tokiyuki's wavering commitment to training, Yoroshige comforts the anxious Tokiyuki by using unholy black magic to dispel the rain and inspire the people of Suwa to unite under the banner of the Hojo clan. This act of witchcraft once again inspires confidence in the tutelage of Yoroshige, thus solidifying Tokiyuki's Stockholm Syndrome. During Tokiyuki's training, he is tasked with growing the bonds of his retainers Shizuku, Ayako, and Kojiro, learning the strengths and weaknesses of each other. While on a hunting expedition, the four encounter a demon boar who had wandered off the set of a Ghibli film. Using teamwork, the group manages to Wile E. Coyote the demon boar off the cliff, further solidifying their bonds as not only as warriors, but as a family. Nothing brings people together like murdering animals. After a hard-fought battle, the group relaxes in a hot spring. It is here that the group decides to call their newly formed band of murder children the Elusive Warriors. Ah, see? The title makes a lot of sense now. Back in Kyoto, the Emperor bestows Takeuji with praise. It rewards him and his clan for their efforts in destroying the shogunate and the Hojo clan. It is after this meeting with the imperial court we are shown how Takeuji has begun to lose his humanity. Damn, I think you should visit an optometrist, bro. We are then introduced to Sadamune Ogasawara, the newly appointed governor of Shinano, a man with the eyes of a hawk and with the uncanny resemblance to Steve Buscemi. It's the eyes. Under the orders of Takeuji, Sadamune is tasked with finding and eliminating any survivors of the Hojo clan that may be hiding in Suwa. Still in training, it is once again established that Tokiyuki has the sword fighting capabilities of a baby with a massive head wound. However, making up for this shortcoming, it is revealed that he is an excellent archer. As they say, when one door closes, you shoot your way into the next. Sadamune arrives unannounced, demanding Yorishige and the people of Suwa to submit to his demands, and to hand over any survivors of the Hojo. Unwilling to capitulate to Sadamune's demands, Yorishige challenges Sadamune to a dog shooting competition, using Tokiyuki as the representative of the Suwa clan. A not at all questionable archery competition is not only a means of settling this dispute, but also a means of training Tokiyuki's archery and evasion skills. After a close competition, Tokiyuki comes out victorious after beaming Sadamune in the throat and the back of the head. Being the poor sport he is, Sadamune leaves to go tell his daddy about his defeat. Except instead of a daddy who works at Nintendo, he's the emperor. Sadamune then returns with a royal decree saying, "Nah, I didn't lose, you did." And now, as a result, Suwa must hand over its territory to Shinano. Being the sly dog he is, Yorishige tests Tokiyuki with stealing the royal decree from Sadamune's camp. But Tokiyuki's a coward, not a thief. So he hires the aid of a renowned thief, Genba Kazama. And of course he's also a child. My god, did everyone who hit puberty just drop dead or something? Genba, being the trustworthy fellow he is, hides his identity with a fox mask, and states he's only willing to work with Tokiyuki if he's willing to pay up. Ah, the foundation for success for all interpersonal relationships. Now with their fragile partnership, Tokiyuki and Genba infiltrate Sadamune's camp to steal the decree. While infiltrating the camp, we learn that Genba's mask gives him the ability to disguise himself as another person. Just like my mask gives me the ability to get free money from a bank. During the raid, the two are impeded by Sukefusa Ichikawa, a man with superhuman hearing abilities and with the ears that could make Mickey Mouse jealous. Tokiyuki and Genba then flee into the woods. Whilst hiding, Genba, being the loyal fellow he is, tries to abandon Tokiyuki. In a flash, Tokiyuki saves Genba from Sukefusa's blade at the cost of injury to himself. Now with the two on the ropes, both Sukefusa and Sadamune give chase, and by their powers combined have the most awkward horseback ride ever. Genba for his part begins to respect Takeuchi's naivete and loyalty, and uses his ability to distract Sukefusa and Sadamune long enough for the elusive warriors to regroup and rescue Tokiyuki and Genba. With the royal decree in hand, Sadamune's plan is squashed, and Suwa can breathe a sigh of relief. Back in Kyoto, the Emperor's son, Prince Moriyoshi, greets the hero Takeuchi with a celebratory lynching party. This is because Prince Moriyoshi is a demi-doubter and skeptical of Takeuchi's loyalty to the Emperor, which I couldn't imagine why. It's not like he betrayed his whole clan or anything. But because of Takeuchi's overwhelming riz, he makes puree out of Moriyoshi's posse. As the new year rolls around, Yorishige has a mental breakdown, since he's temporarily lost his clairvoyant abilities. Don't worry, Yorishige, it's not like Suwa's being invaded or anything. Suwada's borders are then invaded by Shinano forces. Knowing there's no time like now, the elusive warriors are sent off to repel these would-be invaders, despite Yorishige's protests. The murder children then arrive at a remote village, where they are then attacked by a dual-wielding murder hobo with silver hair, not to be confused with another dual-wielding silver-haired murder hobo. After a short scuffle with Kojiro and Ayako, Shizuku and the murder hobo recognize each other. After apologizing for the hands-on welcome party, he introduces himself as Fubuki, and again, not to be confused with another silver-haired Fubuki. As it turns out, this village has been hit by a series of raids by bandits hired by Sadamune. In the prior raids, all the adults had been killed off, leaving only the children behind. Fubuki and the remaining kids have been making traps to fend off further raids, aka the Home Alone tactic. After learning of the village's strategic importance and seeing the determination of the orphans to protect their home, Tokiyuki decides to team up with Fubuki to defend the village. Now to be out-psychopathed by Kevin McAllister, the children make more traps around the village for one final stand. It is during this time Fubuki teaches Tokiyuki a sword technique that even his noodle arms can use in combat. Leading the raid is a man named Shokan, whom I assume sleeps face first in a bed of jelly. Cause, you got something on your chest, my guy. Most of Shokan's army is killed by the traps and Suwa's archers. However, Shokan and his top officers breach the village barricade. Kojiro and Ayako face off against Shokan. As they are unable to best him in combat, they lower him into a shack like he's a big dum-dum, where he is locked inside with Tokiyuki. Tokiyuki challenges Shokan to a 1-on-1 duel. It is here we learn Shokan has a few cards from a full deck.
Using
his evasive skills and the technique taught to him by Fubuki, Tokiyuki manages to bypass Shokan's armor, slitting his inner arm open. Whilst Tokiyuki and Shokan play the bloodiest game of tag, the other members of the elusive warriors dispose of Shokan's officers, including this guy, who's a huge fan of Les Mis. Do you hear the people sing? Shokan, now delirious from blood loss, has a vision of the Buddha taking the form of Tokiyuki himself, before falling face first onto the floor. I too often have visions of deities before passing out on the floor. After both Shokan and his men are dealt with, Sadamune arrives with his reinforcements, but it is too little too late, and is forced to retreat when Gemba arrives with Sua's main army. Before leaving the village, Sadamune finds and carries out a nearly dead Shokan. After realizing the value of Shokan's leadership, and seeing the bloodlust gone from Shokan's eyes, Sadamune awards him with a title and lands of his own. Wow, talk about failing upwards. After returning victorious to Suwa Temple, Tokiyuki is once again confronted with the fact that Yorishige still can't use his cheating abilities. Problems of the first world, am I right? Yorishige then tasks Tokiyuki with a series of odd jobs in order to regain his abilities, such as obtaining an eel, or making a real doll out of hay. After having enough of indulging Yorishige and his fetishes, Tokiyuki is then tasked with retrieving water from a sacred fountain. At the fountain, Tokiyuki meets up with Shizuku. Being skeptical of the paranormal, Shizuku asks Tokiyuki to close his eyes so that she could slip him a tab of acid. While tripping balls, Tokiyuki gains the temporary ability to see divine spirits, including the boar that they murdered not too long ago. Meanwhile, back in Kyoto, Takeuji is having a defense strategy meeting with his younger brother, Tadayoshi, who in turn is also tripping balls, but about rocks. After Takeuji shows off his arts and crafts drawing of the Buddha to his brother, Tadayoshi begins to fear that his brother might be going crazy for some reason. I can't quite put my finger on it. After drinking the divine water Tokiyuki had attained, Yorishige regains his ability to spoil the rest of the series. The show then jumps to spring, during the grain harvest. In an impoverished village, we meet Kyohara Shinano no Kami, a tyrannical officer of Shinano. After taking what little grain the village had, Kyohara has anyone who questions his actions put to death. Outraged by this injustice, Yasaburo Hoshina, a man who looks like he went down on a porcupine, leads a revolt against Kyohara. Since there are only two things guaranteed in life, death and taxes, Yasaburo opts to do the former. Knowing how stubborn Yasaburo is, and how crucial he is to the Hojo clan, Yorishige tasks the boys of the Elusive Warriors to negotiate a retreat. In other words, be a coward, but on a larger scale. Refusing to flee Shinano's army and appear as cowards, Tokiyuki gets drunk and ass punches the sons back into Yasaburo, aka the Keijo method. During the decisive battle, Yasaburo's forces escort the useless women and children to safety, and concentrate the remaining of their forces to take out Kyohara's acting commander, Yonemaru Wada. Kojiro is the one to face down Yonemaru on horseback, but unable to fell Yonemaru alone, he does the next best thing and has his buddies jump him. During the chaos of the battle and the lack of visibility due to the morning mist, Fubuki attacks Kyohara, intentionally sparing his life, as they view the incompetence of Kyohara's leadership as an asset to the Hojo clan. After successfully holding off Kyohara's forces and allowing all of Yonemaru's people to retreat, he then pledges his loyalty to Tokiyuki and Suwa. Victorious, the show ends with the boys of the Elusive Warriors returning back to Suwa Temple, where Aya, Shizuka, and Yorishige await their return. The Elusive Samurai covers many different themes, such as asking the question, what makes a hero? At the beginning of the series, we are presented with Takeuchi Ashikaga, an absolute Sigma who perfectly embodies the traits of a traditional hero, with his physical prowess, bravery, natural intuition, and above all else, a chin that could cut through steel. In contrast, we see that Tokiyuki is a young boy who is not only a weak fighter, but is also lazy, cowardly, and naive. Tokiyuki, however, does manage to fill the role of a hero through his kindness, perseverance, and willingness to tackle impossible odds, even if it means his death. We are shown that despite Takeuji's praiseworthy traits, he has attained the title of hero at the cost of his humanity, juxtaposed to Tokiyuki, who has not only retained his purity of heart, but has also formed an unbreakable bond with his mentor and retainers. It is here that we tackle another theme of this series, loyalty. Throughout the series, we are shown the duality of loyalty and how blind faith can lead to doom, as it did with Takeuji. Whilst, in contrast, it is Tokiyuki's faith in his retainers that is key to his survival. It is due to Tokiyuki's caring and kind nature that he is able to forge such unbreakable bonds with his allies, even going as far to earn the trust of that sneaky Genba. We can also see the Buddhist concepts of death and rebirth throughout the show, most notably when Yorishige pushes a defeated Tokiyuki off the cliff to meet his warrior's death. It is here that Tokiyuki's old life of a coddled prince is now over, and he is reborn as a heroic phoenix, embodying a hero who will never let the flame of his conviction die out. We once again see the idea of death and rebirth in Tokiyuki's fight with Shokan. After his defeat and his vision of the Buddha, Shokan's old ways of murdering and pillaging are a thing of the past, and now has been reborn as a soulless politician, a fate much worse than death. Conversely, the symbol of the Buddha is also used to show the corruption of Takeuji's once noble soul and his descent into madness. The adventures of Tokiyuki also serve as a prime example of the hero's journey, or the monomyth, coined by American mythologist Joseph Campbell. No relation to the delicious soup. We can see prime examples of the departure and initiation phases of the hero's journey, with Tokiyuki's call for adventure, refusal of the call, meeting of the mentor, crossing the threshold/rebirth, and the test of allies and enemies, and finally, ghosting that thought. Thus marking the first phase or act of Tokiyuki's long and treacherous path to becoming a true hero, following in the footsteps of other great literary heroes such as King Arthur, Gilgamesh, and of course, Curious George. While Season 1 adapts only the first few volumes of the manga, The Elusive Samurai is a fantastic retelling of the fall of the Kamakura dynasty. This series tackles the morals of loyalty, revenge, and betrayal, as well as questioning what it means to be a hero. With excellent writing, beautiful animation with occasional horse CG, I am thoroughly impressed with the first season and eagerly await Season 2. The Elusive Samurai is a wonderful series about dualities of heroism. In other words, hypocrisy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dokibo, and I'll see you next time.